Cheating ex-wife thought she'd get my parents' $1 million trust fund in the divorce. Now she's broke. So yeah, I'm 51, and my second wife, Emma, is divorcing me. And I gotta say, I didn't see this coming at first. Well, maybe I should have. But when you're in it, you miss the red flags. You know what I mean? Anyway, before I get to the messy part, let me start from the beginning because this whole thing is a wild ride. I wasn't always this dumb with relationships. My first wife, Karen, passed away in a car accident about 10 years ago. That was rough. We had a daughter together, Julie, and when Karen died, Julie was 12. Man, I didn't even have time to grieve properly. I had to keep it together for my kid. We became each other's support system, you know? Like, I couldn't break down because she needed me. And I guess, in a way, she couldn't fall apart either because I needed her too. Fast forward a bit. Julie grows up, and when she turns 18, she heads off to college. She's smart, got into a good school in Manhattan, and that's when things started getting really quiet at home. I mean, like, deafeningly quiet. There's only so much TV a guy can watch to distract himself. So, what did I do? I started hitting the bar after work. Seemed harmless at first. Go in, have a drink, chat with the bartender, head home, rinse and repeat. That's where I met Emma. She was working behind the bar, serving drinks, and I'd see her almost every night. At first, it was just polite conversation. You know how it goes? Hey, how's your night? Busy shift? That kind of thing. I think she noticed that I was there a lot, probably staying longer than I should have. I'd sit there nursing my drink, just trying to kill time until it was late enough to justify going home to my empty house. It was depressing, honestly, but I wasn't going to admit that to anyone at the time. One night, Emma asked me if I was doing okay. I guess she could tell something was off. I mean, I wasn't exactly trying to hide it. So we got talking, and she seemed nice, easy to talk to, and yeah, she was younger, like 11 years younger than me. But at that point, I didn't really care. I just wanted someone to talk to. Now, I know what you're thinking. Older guy, young bartender, obvious midlife crisis. Trust me, I thought the same thing. I wasn't planning on anything serious. I mean, I wasn't that guy. But Emma was different. She had this way about her that made you feel like you mattered, like she was genuinely interested in what you had to say. And to be real, I was lonely as hell. Julie was off living her life, and I was just stuck in mine. After a few weeks of this back and forth, Emma made the first move. I wasn't expecting it, honestly. She asked me out, and I said yes. Why not, right? It wasn't like I had anything better going on. We started dating, and it was good. Better than I thought it'd be. She had a kid, Jack, a 2-year-old from a previous relationship. The guy bailed on her when she got pregnant, so she'd been raising the kid on her own. That kind of hit me in the gut. I respected her for toughing it out, and we bonded over that, I guess. Both kind of alone, dealing with our own messes. Things moved faster than I expected. After a year, we got married. Now don't get me wrong, I had my doubts. She was way younger, and I wasn't sure if it was going to last, but when she proposed the idea of marriage, I went with it. I was too deep in at that point to back out. Plus, Julie had met her by then and gave me the green light, saying she just wanted me to be happy. She knew how rough it was after her mom passed, and she saw how much I'd changed since being with Emma. So yeah, we had a small, quiet wedding. Just me, Emma, her kid, and her sister, Carrie. Now, Emma and Carrie had their own sob story. They were both abandoned by their parents when they were little and ended up in an orphanage. It wasn't something they talked about much, but it explained a lot about why Emma was the way she was. She was tough, independent, and I kind of admired that. But looking back, I wonder if all that baggage should have been a red flag. Maybe I just didn't want to see it. The first year of marriage was fine. We were happy, or at least I thought we were. We went on trips, did the whole happy couple thing, and I really bonded with Jack. He reminded me a lot of Julie when she was little, running around the house, causing chaos in the best way. I thought everything was perfect. But then Emma quit her job. Said she wanted to spend more time with Jack, which, okay, I could understand. But that also meant I was the only one bringing in money. Didn't bother me at first. I was doing well with my family's real estate business, so I could afford to support us. But things started to shift, and I didn't even notice it at first. Emma's spending habits? Yeah, that's where it all went sideways. At first it was little things. New clothes for Jack, some stuff for the house, whatever. But then it got bigger. She started buying expensive designer clothes, fancy jewelry, booking spa days, and I just kept paying for it. It was almost like I didn't want to rock the boat, like I didn't want to admit that something felt off. I just wanted to keep her happy, you know? Then Julie came home for Christmas and saw what was happening. She's always been sharp, smarter than me in a lot of ways. She pulled me aside and told me I needed to watch out. Said I was spending way too much on Emma, and it wasn't normal. At first, I brushed it off. I told her she was overreacting, but deep down, I knew she was right. Emma wasn't like my first wife, Karen. Karen never cared about material stuff. But Emma, she lived for it. That conversation with Julie was the wake-up call I needed. I started keeping track of what I was spending, and man, it was bad. Emma wasn't just asking for things, she was expecting them, like it was her right. And the more I thought about it, the more it bugged me. I was being played, and I didn't even see it. I started pulling back a bit, told Emma we needed to cut back on the spending, and that's when things really went downhill. She got defensive, saying I was being cheap, that I didn't appreciate her. Then she started accusing me of letting Julie turn me against her. It was like everything I did wasn't enough anymore. She wanted more money, more stuff, more everything. Looking back, I don't know why I didn't see the signs sooner. I guess I just didn't want to believe that someone I cared about could be so selfish. But once you start noticing things, it's hard to unsee them. And trust me, things were about to get a whole lot worse. All right, so after I told Emma we needed to cut back on the spending, things just kept getting worse, like way worse than I expected. You'd think after having a serious talk about finances, she'd at least try to be more responsible, right? Nope. She did the exact opposite. It's like telling her no just flipped some kind of switch in her head. Now, before I dive into this, I gotta say I didn't grow up rich or anything. Yeah, my family's real estate business is doing well, but I wasn't raised to just throw money around. My dad was big on teaching me the value of a dollar, but with Emma, it felt like she saw me as an endless ATM. She didn't even try to hide it after that conversation. The moment I said we needed to cut back, she started acting entitled, like she deserved everything I could give her, and more. One of the first big red flags happened when I cut back on the joint account. I didn't stop putting money in, I just reduced it a bit. Still enough to cover the basics and give her some spending money. But apparently that wasn't good enough for her. She came at me like I'd insulted her entire existence. She said, "What? Am I not worth it anymore? You think I'm some charity case now?" I just looked at her like, "What are you even talking about?" It wasn't just about the money, though. It was how she started treating me. There was this shift. Like, she didn't even respect me anymore. She used to be all sweet, and now it was like I was the enemy. Every time I brought up the spending, she'd flip it back on me. "Oh, so you don't think I'm worth a nice pair of shoes?" Or, "I sacrificed my job for this family, and now you're gonna treat me like I'm useless?" It was wild. I never said anything like that. I just wanted her to be more responsible, but she made it out like I was punishing her. And let's talk about the job thing for a second. I was fine with her quitting to be home with Jack. I actually thought it was a good move at the time. But now, she was using it as leverage. Like, I owed her everything because she quit her job to be a full-time mom. Don't get me wrong, being a parent is hard work. I get that. But I didn't sign up to fund a fashion show. She wasn't spending the money on Jack or the house. She was spending it all on herself. Clothes, handbags, shoes, spa days, you name it. At this point, I started to see what Julie was talking about. Emma wasn't the same woman I'd married. Or maybe she was, and I just didn't notice it until now. Either way, the money was flowing out faster than I could keep up with, and I was getting seriously worried about the future. I mean, I wasn't going to go broke or anything, but I wasn't about to let her drain me dry either. Then came the parties. Oh yeah, Emma loved to party. Before, it wasn't a big deal. We'd go out once in a while, have a good time, nothing crazy. But now, she was going out all the time. I'd come home from work and she wouldn't even be there. She'd be out with her friends, partying till 2 or 3 in the morning, and I was the one at home with Jack, reading him bedtime stories and making sure he was fed. Which, by the way, I didn't mind. Jack's a good kid, and I cared about him like he was my own. But Emma, she was off doing God knows what, and I was starting to get suspicious. I tried talking to her about it, about how she was barely home, how she wasn't being responsible. I was getting fed up with being the only adult in the house. But whenever I brought it up, she'd flip the script again, accusing me of trying to control her. "You're just jealous because I'm out having fun and you're stuck here," she'd say. Like, seriously? I'm the one keeping this family afloat, and she's trying to make me feel guilty for not partying? One night, things came to a head. It was a Thursday, and I'd gotten home from work early. I thought maybe we could sit down, have a real talk, try to work things out. But when I got home, the house was empty. No Emma, no Jack. At first, I thought maybe they were out at the park or something. But as the hours ticked by, I realized Emma was out again. I texted her, no response. I called, straight to voicemail. She didn't come home until 3 a.m. When she finally stumbled in, reeking of alcohol, I was waiting for her. I asked her where she'd been, and she just shrugged, saying, "Out with friends, what's it to you?" That's when I lost it. I told her this wasn't working, that she needed to get her act together, or we were done. I wasn't going to keep funding her lifestyle while she partied every night and left me to raise her son. And you know what she said? She laughed. She actually laughed in my face and said, "You can't do anything about it. You need me more than I need you." That hit me like a brick. Like, who does she think she is? After that, I started pulling back even more. I stopped giving her money directly, only paying for the essentials: food, bills, Jack's school stuff. I thought maybe she'd get the message, but nope. She doubled down, started using my credit card without asking. I had to cancel it just to stop her. And when she realized I wasn't giving in, she started getting nasty. I'll never forget the look on her face when I told her I canceled the card. It wasn't anger. It was like I'd broken some unspoken rule between us. She couldn't believe I'd cut her off like that. And that's when she started threatening me. She told me I was making a huge mistake, that I was pushing her to do something drastic. I asked her what she meant, but she just gave me this cold smile and said, "You'll find out soon enough." I should have known then what was coming, but I was still trying to save the marriage. Still trying to fix what was already broken, but looking back, I realized there was nothing to fix. Emma wasn't interested in saving anything. She was only interested in what she could get from me. It all came to a head a couple of weeks later when I came home early again. And this time, I caught her in the act. Alright, so let me get straight to the point. This is where everything hit the fan. It's funny how you always think you'll notice something big coming, like some huge red warning sign, but man, when it happens, it catches you completely off guard. Well, not completely. I guess I knew deep down that something was going to happen with Emma, but I didn't think it'd go this far. So, here's what went down. I'd been noticing for a while that Emma was getting more distant. Like, not just emotionally, but physically. She was gone more and more, and even when she was around, it was like I didn't exist. I started to get suspicious, but I kept telling myself not to jump to conclusions. I figured maybe she was just going through a phase, or maybe she was mad about me cutting her off from the spending spree she was on. But what happened next? Yeah, no one's gonna convince me I didn't have a right to be suspicious. It was a Wednesday, middle of the week. I was supposed to be at the office all day, but one of my meetings got canceled. So I figured I'd take the chance to head home early, surprise her, maybe talk things out like adults. I knew things were rough between us, but I still wanted to believe we could fix it. Like, maybe we could sit down and have a real conversation, put everything on the table. I pulled into the driveway and everything seemed normal. Her car was there, which I thought was a good sign. Maybe she wasn't out partying like usual. Maybe she was home with Jack, and we could just have a quiet evening for once. I walked inside, and right away, something felt off. The house was too quiet. No cartoons playing, no toys scattered around the living room like usual. It was weird. I called out for Emma, and no answer. I walked through the house, checking the kitchen, the backyard. Nothing. It wasn't until I got to the bedroom that I realized exactly what was going on. The door was slightly cracked, and I could hear voices. 2 voices. My heart dropped right into my stomach. I knew instantly what was happening, but my brain couldn't really process it, you know? Like, part of me wanted to just turn around, walk back out the door and pretend I hadn't heard anything, but I couldn't. I had to know. So I pushed the door open, and there they were. Emma, in our bed, with some guy I'd never seen before in my life. They didn't even hear me at first. It was like I wasn't even there. But then when the guy finally noticed me standing in the doorway, he jumped up, scrambling to put his clothes on. Emma? She didn't even look surprised. She just sat there, completely calm, like she was expecting this moment to happen sooner or later. Now, you'd think I would have lost it, right? Like, that's the normal reaction when you catch your wife cheating on you. But I just stood there, staring at her, trying to wrap my head around what I was seeing. I felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, just nothing. The guy bolted out of the room, mumbling something about being sorry or whatever. I didn't even look at him. My eyes were glued to Emma, waiting for her to say something. When she finally spoke, it wasn't an apology. It wasn't even an explanation. She just said, "Well, now you know." Like, that was it. Like I'd just caught her eating the last cookie from the jar or something. I couldn't believe it. I asked her if she'd been cheating the whole time, and she just shrugged. A shrug. I don't know what I was expecting. Maybe some kind of dramatic scene, some big reveal, but all I got was indifference. I didn't yell. I didn't scream. I just stood there for what felt like forever, letting the reality of the situation sink in. Finally, I just told her to leave. That's it. I told her to get her stuff and go. And you know what? She didn't even argue. She didn't try to explain or beg me to forgive her. She just got up, started packing a bag like it was the most normal thing in the world. I sat on the edge of the bed while she packed, staring at the floor, wondering how the hell I'd ended up here. I mean, I wasn't perfect, but I sure as hell didn't deserve this. She took some clothes, her laptop, a few personal things, and then she was gone. No goodbye, no, I'm sorry, nothing. Just walked out like it was no big deal. I didn't sleep that night. I just laid there, staring at the ceiling, going over every moment of our relationship in my head, trying to figure out where it all went wrong. How did I not see it? Was I just blind the whole time? Or did I ignore the signs because I didn't want to believe them? I don't know. The next day I thought maybe she'd come back. Maybe she'd realize what she'd done and try to fix it. But she didn't. Instead, she served me divorce papers a week later. I wasn't surprised, honestly. But when I looked at the papers, I saw something that did surprise me. She was asking for $500,000. Yeah, you read that right. $500,000. She figured she'd hit the jackpot by marrying me, and now she was cashing in. She must have overheard me talking about my family's trust fund at some point, and assumed that I had access to all that money. But what she didn't know? The trust fund wasn't mine. It was set up for Julie after my first wife died. Emma had no legal claim to it. When I saw the number, I couldn't help but laugh. Like, seriously? After everything? She thought she was just gonna walk away with a payday? I had to give her credit. She really thought she was about to pull one over on me. But I wasn't about to let that happen. I called my lawyer the next day and filled him in on everything. He told me to hold off on responding to the papers until he had a chance to look them over. And let me tell you, I was more than ready to fight this in court. There was no way in hell she was getting a dime from me, especially after what she did. It's funny though. After she left, the house felt just as empty as it did before I met her. Maybe even more so, but instead of feeling lonely, I felt relieved. Like a huge weight had been lifted off my shoulders. Sure, I had a legal battle ahead of me, but at least I didn't have to deal with her anymore. And that's when I realized something. I didn't lose anything that day. She did. She lost the life I gave her, the stability, the support. And all for what? Some guy she barely knew? A quick escape? Who knows? But what I did know was that I wasn't going to let her get away with screwing me over financially. Not a chance. Update 1. Alright, so after Emma walked out and dropped the divorce papers on me, things didn't exactly slow down. If anything, they got messier. I mean, the cheating was bad, but the divorce? That's where she really showed her true colors. If I thought catching her in bed with another guy was the low point, I had no idea what she had up her sleeve next. So I took those divorce papers straight to my lawyer, Tim. Tim's a good guy. Straightforward, no nonsense. I needed someone who could handle this without dragging it out forever, and Tim was perfect for that. When I handed him the papers, I remember him raising an eyebrow at the $500,000 demand. He looked at me like, "Is she serious?" And I just shrugged. I mean, what could I say? Emma clearly thought she hit the jackpot with me. Tim flipped through the pages, making notes and mumbling to himself. After a few minutes, he looked up and said, "All right, here's what we're going to do. First off, she's not getting that trust fund money. That's for your daughter, and there's no way she's going to touch that. But you already knew that." I nodded. I wasn't worried about the trust fund. What bugged me was the fact that she had the nerve to ask for it in the first place. Like she thought she could just waltz out of my life, take my money, and run off with some guy? Not happening. Tim kept reading through the papers, and that's when he found the kicker. Okay, sorry for using that word, but it fits. Not only was Emma asking for the money, but she also wanted the house. Our house. The place where I'd lived for years, even before I met her. She wanted that too. And she wanted it now. I couldn't help but laugh. I mean, really? She cheats, leaves, and now she wants to take the house I've lived in for over a decade? Yeah, not happening. Tim wasn't laughing though. He told me that while it seemed ridiculous, we couldn't underestimate how low she was willing to go. That's when he explained how these things tend to play out. The more outrageous the demands, the more room they give you to negotiate down, he said. I got the feeling Emma wasn't just being greedy. She was being strategic. This was her game, and I was starting to realize just how good she was at it. The next couple of weeks were a whirlwind of meetings with Tim, gathering documents, and preparing for the first court hearing. I tried to keep things normal at home, but every time I walked through the front door, I couldn't help but feel a little sick. This was the house we were fighting over, the house she was trying to take from me, and I couldn't even relax in it without thinking about that. Meanwhile, Emma was out there living her best life, or at least pretending to. I'd get texts from friends saying they saw her out at bars, fancy restaurants, or on vacation with that guy she cheated with. She was flaunting it, like she didn't have a care in the world. And that's when it hit me. She was using the joint account, the one I hadn't closed yet. She was still spending my money. I called Tim immediately, and he told me to go to the bank and close it down. So I did. And man, I wish I could have seen her face when she realized the well had dried up. That's when the real fun started. A couple of days later, I got a flurry of texts from Emma. First, they were calm, asking why there wasn't any money in the account, saying she needed it for Jack's school or some other excuse. I ignored them. Then the messages got angrier. She accused me of being petty, of trying to ruin her life, saying I was punishing her for leaving. Like, no, I'm just done funding your little vacations with your new boyfriend. She tried calling too, leaving me these long, rambling voicemails about how I was forcing her hand, and that I didn't want to see what she was capable of. It was all so dramatic, but at this point, I wasn't fazed. I saved all the messages, though. Tim said they might come in handy later. Now, here's where it gets really good. The first court hearing was coming up, and I was ready. I had everything lined up. Documents proving the trust fund wasn't mine, bank statements showing how she drained the joint account, even evidence of her cheating. Tim had it all sorted. But Emma? She showed up to court like she was walking the runway. I'm talking designer clothes, expensive heels, and that smug look on her face that made me want to scream. And get this, she brought the guy with her. To court. I didn't react. I knew better than to give her what she wanted, which was probably some big scene. Instead, I just sat there, letting Tim do his thing. As soon as the proceedings started, her lawyer jumped right into the demands. $500,000, the house, and oh yeah, spousal support. She wanted me to pay her monthly, because according to her, she'd given up her job for the good of the family, and now couldn't support herself. The nerve of this woman. But Tim was ready. He shot down the trust fund demand immediately, explaining to the judge that it wasn't even in my name and that Emma had no legal claim to it. She looked pissed, but her lawyer quickly moved on to the house. That's when Tim dropped the bombshell. Sorry, used it again. The house wasn't fully mine either. It was part of the business trust my parents had set up years ago, and Emma had no claim to that either. She didn't know any of this. I watched her face go from smug to pale in about 2 seconds flat. Then came the real kicker. Last time, I swear. Tim brought up all the evidence of her cheating. The texts, the bank records showing how she'd been using the joint account to fund her new lifestyle, and even photos of her and the boyfriend on their little vacations. The judge wasn't impressed. Emma's lawyer tried to spin it, saying she'd been forced into the affair because I was emotionally distant or some nonsense like that. But the evidence was too strong. It was clear as day what had happened. By the time the hearing was over, Emma looked like she'd been hit by a truck. The judge ruled in my favor on pretty much everything. No $500,000, no house, no spousal support. She was walking away with nothing. And let me tell you, it was the best feeling in the world. Now it's not over yet. We've still got a couple more hearings to finalize everything, but at this point I'm not worried. I've got Tim in my corner, and Emma's lost her upper hand. She thought she could play me, but in the end, it looks like she played herself. But hey, there's still more to come. I'll keep you guys posted. Update 2. After the court hearing where Emma got slapped with reality, you'd think she'd back off, right? Like, surely she'd realize that she wasn't going to win and just take the loss gracefully. But nah, that's not how Emma operates. She doubled down, trying to pull one last stunt before the final nail in the coffin. After that first court hearing, I thought things were finally wrapping up. Tim did his thing, shot down all her demands, and I was feeling pretty good about how it all went down. Emma, on the other hand, was not taking it well. I hadn't heard from her since the hearing, which was fine by me. She was out of the house, out of my life, and I was just waiting for the final divorce settlement to come through. But then, about a week later, I got a knock on my door. It was Emma, and let me tell you, I was not ready for that. I hadn't seen her since court, and honestly, I didn't want to see her at all. She was standing there, looking all calm, like we were just going to have a casual chat. I could already tell this wasn't going to go well. "Can we talk?" she asked, all soft and sweet, like she hadn't tried to screw me over a week ago. I should have slammed the door in her face, but stupid me, I opened it and let her in. I thought maybe she was here to apologize. Maybe she realized what she did was messed up and wanted to make things right. Spoiler alert, that's not what happened. We sat down in the living room and she started with the usual, "I've been thinking a lot about what happened, and I just want us to end this on good terms." I didn't say anything, just nodded, letting her talk. But then she hit me with it. The real reason she was here. "I think we can work something out without dragging this through court," she said, giving me that same smug smile she had in the courtroom. "Maybe if you just agree to give me the house and a little money, we can settle this quietly." Now let me get this straight. She wanted me to give her the house? After everything? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It was like she was still living in some fantasy where she had all the power. I just stared at her for a second, trying to figure out if she was being serious. Emma, I said, finally breaking the silence, you're not getting the house. We already went over this in court. She sighed like she was talking to a child who didn't understand basic math. I know, but this is different. We don't have to involve the lawyers anymore. We can just come to an agreement ourselves. That's when it clicked for me. She was desperate. She knew she wasn't getting anything from the court, so now she was trying to manipulate me into giving her what she wanted. But I wasn't falling for it this time. I was done being the nice guy. I'm not giving you anything, I told her flat out. You made your choices and now you're gonna have to deal with the consequences. Her whole demeanor changed in an instant. The sweet, calm act was gone, and she was back to being the same entitled, selfish person I'd seen over the past few months. You think you're better than me? She snapped. You wouldn't have anything if it weren't for me. I gave up everything for this marriage, and you're just gonna leave me with nothing? That's when I really lost it. I stood up and pointed to the door. You gave up everything? You spent my money, trashed our marriage, and then tried to take me for $500,000. You've got some nerve coming here and acting like I owe you anything. She didn't move, just stood there, glaring at me like she was waiting for me to break and give her what she wanted. But I wasn't backing down. I was done being manipulated. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, she stormed out of the house, slamming the door behind her. I sat back down, feeling like I'd just dodged a bullet. But I knew that wasn't the last I'd hear from her. Sure enough, a couple of days later, I got a letter from her lawyer. Emma was trying to drag me back to court, this time demanding spousal support again, claiming she couldn't support herself because she gave up her career for our marriage. It was the same old story she'd been pushing from the start, but now she was really reaching. She even threw in some nonsense about emotional abuse, trying to paint me as the bad guy. But here's the thing. Tim was ready. He'd seen this kind of thing before, and he wasn't about to let her pull anything sneaky. We gathered all the evidence we had, the joint account records, the texts and voicemails where she was threatening me, even some photos she'd posted online of her partying it up with her new guy while still living off my money. By the time we got back to court, Emma didn't stand a chance. The judge wasn't having any of her excuses, especially when Tim laid out the full story. He brought up how she'd been living the high life while claiming she was struggling, and how she'd tried to milk me for money even after she cheated and left. The judge ruled in my favor again. No spousal support, no house, no money. Emma was officially walking away with nothing. And this time, it was for real. When the final ruling came through, I couldn't help but feel a little bad for Jack. He didn't ask for any of this, and he was just a kid caught in the middle. But I knew I couldn't keep supporting him forever. Emma was his mom, and she was gonna have to figure things out for herself now. I wasn't gonna be her safety net anymore. After everything was finalized, I took a few days off work to process it all. It was weird. This huge weight had been lifted off my shoulders, but at the same time, I couldn't help but think about how close I came to losing everything. Emma thought she could walk all over me, but in the end, she played herself. So yeah, that's where it all ended. I'm free now, and I'm never getting myself into a situation like that again. Marriage? No thanks. I'll stick to being single for a while, maybe forever. Thanks to everyone who followed along with this whole mess. Your support kept me going, and if there's one thing I've learned, it's that you should always trust your gut. If something feels off, it probably is. And don't let anyone take advantage of you just because you want to believe the best in them. Sometimes people show you who they really are, and you've just got to believe them. Anyway, that's it from me. Time to move on and leave this mess in the past. Let me know how that works for you. If you need any more changes or ideas, feel free to ask.